because it's amazing having to balance audio.
I hear.
There you go. I think you're loud enough. So Keith, everyone, this is Keith Smith, founder of Pilotedge. Thank you for taking a few minutes. I just want
No
to,
worries.
yeah, I love the debrief video that we did at on for the YouTube channel was brilliant.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I talked for 3 times longer than I should have, but other than that, it was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was, and a lot of people have given me feedback directly saying they really learned a lot from that debrief, and they want another one, time permitting. So that would be good.
Cool.
Yeah. So today was kind of sloppy. I'm the first to admit. I obviously streaming and balancing all of that in Pilotedge is a balance sometimes. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee. I forgot to switch over to the tower frequency with you. I forgot to turn the
Yeah.
transponder on, so it was kind of like a C minus flight there, in my opinion. But
Gotcha.
and then on the second leg, I thought I would do much better, and yeah, we were hand flying it for a bit, and we crossed over that Victor 23, and I had caught it before I was outside the boundary. But you, as a controller, you're going to let us know that we're crossing over because you have no idea if we're coming back or not. And but I'm assuming from a technical perspective, maybe explain that airway and whether or not I was still in that airway, even though I was headed north.
Yeah, you're on a 090 heading, so you take off out of John Wayne, and your route is to join Victor 23, or rate of vectors to join Victor 23. Because of the minimum vectoring altitude, we can't turn you till you get to, it's like 2300 or something like that. So typically most planes fly through Victor 23 on the 175 heading, and then we wait till you're a little bit higher, then we turn you back to join the airway.
Okay.
1 second, I'm just going to turn down your stream because it's echoing back to me. There we go. So I gave you once you were high enough, I gave you a 090 heading with an instruction to join the airway. And so at that time, you should have had, well, actually, before you even took off, you would have had the Seal Beach VOR tuned in and the appropriate radial for Victor 23. So then you're supposed to just sit on 090 heading, and as the needle centers, you're basically watching that like a hawk, right? The where am I going now? Where am I going next? Well, where am I going now is 090 heading. What am I doing next? I'm joining Victor 23. So you're primed and ready to see that needle come in, and as soon as you see it come in, you should be turning to intercept it. So at some point, that needle would have gone from full left deflection to a right deflection, and I had no way of knowing you'd caught it or not because you basically kept going in a perfectly straight line. So yeah, by the letter of the law, I don't think it would have been a pilot deviation because it is 4 nautical miles wide. However, if you were on a check ride, you would have failed the check ride because that 4 nautical miles is to allow for the inherent error in VOR receivers and the fact that their calibration is not always perfect. They can be 4 degrees out and still be legal, but X-plane VORs are perfectly accurate. So if a check ride examiner sees that you are going through the needle and it goes to full deflection on the other side and you haven't caught it, he'll fail you on a check ride for that because you are required to fly the center line of every course that you're supposed to track. You're actually not allowed to deliberately say offset 2 miles and say, well, the airway is 4 nautical miles wide. So yes and no on that one.
Okay. Well, that's excellent information. It was my mistake, and I think I need to go back to. Well, I could have done it 2 different ways, right? That radio, I need to go back to that basic navigation, that radio, to know when Victor 23 is coming up. It's also a balance of paying attention to the aircraft. But sometimes I have 100 passengers and they get distracting, but that's no excuse. Fly the plane. But the other thing I do is when I'm flying, let's say I'm in a GPS mode. I'm not going to be in a GPS mode per se because you're going to give me a manual vector. In this case, it was 090 once I got up to a certain altitude. So I'm on a 090. At that point, I could have re-engaged the GPS, and it probably would have re-intercepted the original track onto Victor 23. But what I've in a bad habit of doing is looking at the foreflight, and I should be using that radio more often. And I love and I enjoy Slant Alpha. I need to pay more attention to that and not be relying on some of these other things. They're nice to have, but back to the radio basic, I think is very important. Next question. I accidentally filed a Papa or Quebec type tech route. Because I was in a turboprop, I should have filed the Mike tech route.
Correct. It should have been Victor 25, not Victor 23 at a higher altitude. I didn't have time to reroute you because of the the commercial customer on frequency, and I opted to just leave you on that route. But I noticed that I was going to hold the controller's family hostage who gave you the clearance to begin with until he repents.
Yeah, that was something that it was my mistake for not putting in that correct tech route. But yeah, the clearance controller, he was busy. But yeah, no, that was good. That made me think back to really focusing on being accurate with not only my flying but also my filing. So that was good for me. It was learning. This is what it's all about.
Yes, yeah, and back to your point before about using the moving map and the distraction and stuff like that, the moving map should not be primary. It would just be a way of backing up to say, yes, I am definitely where my instruments are telling me I am, as opposed to looking at the map and going, hey, it's nearly time to turn. That should be the fallback. So until you're an absolute rock star at using those radials, as counterintuitive as it seems, I'd recommend that you don't even have the map on. So force yourself to have the radials and nothing but the radials, so help you God, and that will teach you to truly trust those instruments and truly make them primary. That's kind of like people who say, I'm going to navigate by Pilotedge, as in looking out the window and using landmarks, but they've got their GPS on and they're following the magenta line. What they're really doing is navigating by GPS and then backing up by looking out the window going, yes, there's a lake out there and I see it. And that's what's on the map. But if you don't have the GPS, you're gonna take the navigating a whole lot more seriously. It's the same thing with the radials. So you should be navigating heading mode. Autopilot's fine too. Heading mode, arm the nav mode. GPS should be in VOR mode with the 120 radial selected, or 123 radial, whatever it is, out of Seal Beach for Victor 23. And you're looking for that radial to come in. And it's fine if you want the autopilot to fly it for you, but your action is, I should be on a 090 heading until the radial centers. So you're just primed to see that needle come in. And then sure, if you want to back it up by looking at the moving map after, that's fine, but you shouldn't be using the moving map as primary.
Yeah, that's great advice. I appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, the other thing I just wanted to, because a lot of pilots, a lot of people out there are intimidated about joining Pilotedge, and I just want to tell you right now, it's a learning network. I made mistakes today. I've learned from them. Hopefully, I'm going to get better. I think I'm better than I was a year ago. I think,
no question.
I think I flew Teterboro yesterday pretty okay. That was a lot of fun.
Your pattern work was spectacular there. I had no issues, and your response time on the radio was great. Phraseology was great. And, forgetting a transponder code, they're not going to yell at you for that. If the controller seems a little bit firm, he's probably mad about something else and he's maybe taking it out on you slightly, but you should never take it personally. So if we say, hey, verify your mode C's on and verify you're squawking the right code, it really is just a reminder for you to do that. We've all been there before. We've all forgotten to set it ourselves, but we do need you to set it correctly. So as long as you take the corrective action, move on. We've forgotten about your mistake long before you have. So yeah, just don't let it stack up on you and bring you down when we give corrections to you. And it was a great flight from my perspective. You were doing great, and you were responsive on the radios, which was really the number one thing. When we're working a bunch of planes, because that sector was busy 28-1 with all the traffic we'd arranged this morning. The number one thing you can do to make our lives easy, if anyone cares, is to reduce the response time. And you did a fantastic job of that. You basically became invisible to me. Other than that small airway bust, we got that corrected, got you back on course. And the fact that I could just hammer out instructions to you, you read it back, I move on to the next plane. If you're basically invisible to me as a controller, then you're our best friend.
Ah, perfect.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate the time. I wanted to take a moment if you want to announce the upcoming bonus field on Tuesday to the stream. I believe.
I have to go look at it, dude. I've been so heads down in the scope. I knew it was Reno, and we've also had to juggle them a couple of times.
Monterey, I believe.
Oh, Monterey.
Yes.
Oh, it's such a pretty field. KMLY up in NorCal. My very first cross country was to Monterey, and I thought I was the coolest guy in the world because when I was on final, I saw the Blue Angels on the ramp down there. When I was taking off, and they were getting out of the jets and heading towards their little hut there to do their debrief. And I remember that was the first time I actually did a slip on departure. I wanted to drop a wing so I could take a good look at them on the way out. So I actually did a slip on the way out and felt like the biggest guy. I was actually the biggest idiot. No one cared in my DA-20 Katana with 80 horsepower compared to their 34,000 pounds of thrust they had.
The one Blue Angel looked up and said, "Oh, that guy's waving to us."
Yeah.
Nice.
But yes, I have very fond memories of Monterey.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful airport.
I'm going to enjoy flying into there because, well, two reasons. It's always nice to have a new Pilotedge field because this will be the first time ever, right?
Yeah, we've never worked Monterey before.
Yeah, never had an event or anything. And the second reason that this is
JonFLy, acknowledge the follower.
And Grotto-Matic, thank you for the follow. Is golf? It's golf course country.
Yo,
That's
JonFLy,
beautiful golf
acknowledge
course
the follower.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of JonFLy Golf Channel emotes, golf course emotes thrown out for that. Since we all love being childish and throwing out the emotes. But anyway,
I'm too old to emote. I'm over the age of 40. I don't emote.
Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Keith, for joining. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate the lessons.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Good show.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.